Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another indie book review. I know, another one. So soon. Like, two in the course of a week. This is unheard of for me. Well, there's a reason for that. Mostly because I'm reviewing a short story entitled Sholamir by Dylan C. Um, I wasn't sure just what to do with this, because trying to review a short story, especially due to the sake that my reviews are based around, and especially the scoring is based around doing novels. So it was a little more difficult to really pinpoint how things were and how I really felt about certain things because within a short story you don't need a whole lot of continuity. Like you do need that little bit in order to keep the plot moving, but you don't need to do as much, which means that I gotta be a little bit more harsher in terms of my judgments. Don't get me wrong, the story was pretty good, but at the same time, it's really difficult to really pinpoint just where the problems are because it doesn't give a lot of space for the problems. So after this one, I'm probably not going to be allowing any more short stories or even novellas unless in like certain situations. So it'll just be novels from here on out. But yeah, let's get into the plot. The plot is basically this woman goes down into these caves. She's a part of this space mission to do something. It's never really made overly clear. Uh, but she goes down there to try and free up a load of supplies that got stuck. She does that, goes down a little further, finds this guy that's been hiding down there for 2 decades. They drag him up. She finds out that he was a bit of a freedom fighter for her people from her planet. And he hid himself away, uh, mostly due to the sake that he was a defector from the Federacy. He couldn't deal with what was going on. But they decide to put him on trial. He just foregoes the trial and says, you know what? I will accept your sentence. I'm good. This doesn't sit well with her because, she sees him as a bit of a hero to her people. So, a couple decades later, she goes to see him, and he gives her everything that he remembers that the Federacy did. And also goes on to explain why the Federacy did what they did, in terms of signing an act saying that they will not interfere on the planet of Sholamir. So, it's a fairly straightforward plot. Uh, there's not really a lot of the hows or the whys, but it's a short story, so it's. I'm gonna give it 4 stars, like 4. It was pretty good. Like it's not something that I myself have seen an abundance of in terms of story wise. So yeah, it gets a 4. So characters. There's really only two major characters in this: the main character and the guy from the cave. Honestly, the two major characters definitely had their own voices. They definitely had their own personalities to them. There's literally nothing wrong with these characters, so I'm gonna give them a 5. He did a good job with it. The writing, was also really good. You know, it's a short story, so it's not really lending itself to a whole lot, but in terms of it being a short story, it did a pretty good job of keeping a person's attention and getting the story across in a tight, reasonable manner. So, again, it gets a 5 stars. Imagination. It's got imagination to it. It's actually got some pretty decent stuff going on there that I found that I greatly enjoyed. So, again, I'm going to give it a 5 stars. Am I going too fast through this? It's hard to tell. Like I said, it's a short story. There's not a lot for me to really talk about. There's not a lot for me to really delve into and talk about. But that it's still really good. So we're gonna get into the last one, the ending. The ending, it was fine, I guess. I mean, he gives her the stuff, and she goes into this little thought on whether she should use the information that she's been given or if she should just let things go. Because eventually a time's going to come where what happened is no longer going to matter. No one's going to remember it. No one's going to even think about it. So why dig up the past? The character of the man in the cave, he's a great example of a person who couldn't let things go. Her mother and an old lady that she remembered when she was a kid are great examples of people who couldn't let things go. And she begins to wonder if she should let things go or if she should use the information to do something with it. And I couldn't quite see just where the author really wanted me to lean here. Like, yeah, the Confederacy did a whole lot of really terrible, shitty things to her people. They allowed some awful stuff to go on. So she should do this. But on the other hand, there's all this. So in terms of ambiguity, very good job. But I kind of wanted a little bit more of a clean, crisp ending to it. I kind of wanted the story to actually mean a little bit more than what it was. So I'm going to give it a 3. Don't let that deter anyone from reading this. It's definitely an enjoyable read. I just wasn't quite sure where I wanted things to go, and I wasn't quite sure where the author wanted things to go. So, all in all, it's still an 8.5 out of 10. It's still a very enjoyable short story, and it's one that people should check out and read. That's about all I got. So, yeah. Have a great one, everybody.